Good morning, everyone. Getting ready to together this morning. Our class on Shaar Habitachon. If you have your sefer, go get it. As we get ready to learn B'chavrusa, I love learning together with you guys. Feel free to tell us where you are joining in from. Wait a few minutes till people start joining. Boker Tov. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Francesca. How are you? Hi, Helga. Boker Tov. Good morning, Barb. Good to see everyone up so bright and early, getting ready to learn. Okay. How's it going out there, Francesca, in Italy? How's the COVID situation? Are people getting back to normal life? Because I feel like it's going to start happening. Okay. Hi, good morning, Corinne. Good. Glad you found it fast today. Good, good, good. Okay. Hi, Linda. Good morning. Grab your coins, and we're going to give tzedakah together. Wait a few more minutes till everyone knows that we're on. I think we're a little early today. We'll just say good morning to everyone as they get on. You can give me a hello in the comments so I'll know what your mood is this morning, how you're feeling. Okay, Barb, how's it going today? Are we feeling upbeat, positive? Hello, Shirley. Good morning. Okay. All righty. So we'll start. Oh, Esther's on too. Good. Good morning, Helga. Good morning, Esther. Helga, tell me, how's Esther feeling today? Give me an emoji. How's Esther's feeling this morning? Corinne's feeling great today. Good. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. Okay, that's what we want to hear. How could it not be good when you are learning together, Jewish women from around the world, and learning Shaar Habitachon, learning Chassidus? Hello, good morning, Barb. Good morning, Boker Tov. Okay. Prayers were answered for Yosef ben Blima Esther. Wow, that's great news. It means our Tehillim together collectively as women is working. Okay, let's get started. Today's class will be in honor of, here we go. Yaakov Moshe ben Necha, Yehudis Basari, Yitzchak Moshe ben Rachel Reza, Tzipori Hindel bas Rachel Miriam, Chana Devorah Golda, Chana Devorah bas Golda Basya, Menucha bas Emmanuel, Sarah bas Rivka, Yisrael ben Esther, Yisrael ben Esther Golda, Nechama Dina bas Esther Hadassah, Henya Tzipora bas Chaya Yocheved, Tovi Moshe ben Perel, Liram Bracha bas Shain Leah. Good, Helga, I like that. Rivka bas Chafitza, Leah bas Chafitza. We have a few more names that joined us. Good morning, Chana and Elise and Pauline. Good morning. We have Dalia bas Yehudis, Henyel Tova bas Tema Basya, Moshe ben Miriam, Leah bas Etel, Nomi, Sarah bas Sephora bas Sarah bas Panina, Dov ben Tova, Malka bas Rachel, Leah, and Yeshua ben Leah. Okay, wishing everyone a refuah shlema. Okay, we see Moshe ben Leah Esther, Devorah Chaya bas Shalamit, Sarah bas Chaya. Okay, so our learning today will be in the schus and the merit of all of these people, Sarah bas Chaya, that we've been davening for, that we're going to say chapter Chaf for, and our mitzvahs today. You know, today's a special day, by the way. It's Purim Katan. Right? Anybody know what Purim Katan is? Purim Katan is when we have two Adars. Hi, Karen. Good morning. When we have two Adars, like a leap year this year, then the first month of Adar is not the month that we celebrate Purim, but we still call it the Purim Katan, the small Purim, and in some way we can celebrate it. We're told that today is a very auspicious day for prayer and charity and asking Hashem for our needs. So what's better than davening together? Okay, Tzedakah, chapter 20. Here we go. Say it with me or say Amen. Lamnatseach Mizmor David. Yancha Adonai B'Yom Tzara. Yisadecha Hashem Elahei Yaakov. Yishlach Ezracha Mikodesh U'Mitzion Yisadeka. Yiskal Kol Mechasecha V'Los Chidash Nisei. Yitin L'chach L'Vecha V'Chol Atzoscha Yimali. N'rana B'Shuasecha U'V'Shem Eloheinu Nikol. Yimalei Adonai Kol Mashalasecha. Ati Adati Ki Yoshi Adonai Mishicho. Yaneu Mishmei Kocho B'Gvuros Yesha Yimine. Ela Varecha Ve'ela Vasosana Nachnu Shem Adonai Eloheinu Naskir. Hey Makarav V'Nafal V'Anachnu Kamnu V'Nisodad. And this is perfect for the month of Adar. Adonai Hoshea HaMelech Yanenu V'Yom Karenu. Hashem deliver us. May the King answer us on the day we call. Purim Katan. In 1 month we celebrate Purim, the holiday that the Jewish people were saved from the wicked Haman. And just as the miracle happened, then we ask Hashem, please show us your love, show us your blessing, show us your might. Bless us with only serve us from all our enemies, from all those anti-Semites that are out there are waiting for our downfall. They should just look at the story and they know it ain't gonna happen, because we have a God in heaven who's our Father, who we reach out to, who's connected to us every single second. Good morning, Elaine. Good morning, Lauren. Good morning, Tova. Good morning, Helen. Good morning, Nikki. We are so sure and so confident that Hashem has our back. And we've been on this journey, Habitachon, now. How long? How long have we been learning? Anybody remember? I can't remember how many months it's been, but it's been a while. Baruch Hashem. And as such, our Bitachon, I believe, and tell me if you agree with me. Do you feel that the more we study and the more we immerse ourselves in the view of Rabbeinu Bachaya, that it becomes assimilated in your thought process and in your emotion, and that your natural place to go to is Hashem's got my back. I trust in Hashem implicitly. I do my hishtadlus, but I know Hashem's got me. And in the morning, we like to start off with a little meditation of breathing in, bitachon. Breathe out anxiety. One more time. Good morning, Rosalie. Breathe in, bitachon. Breathe out anxiety. And on that note, we will get started. We are still in chapter 4. We're almost finished. But today is a very interesting and very appropriate section in Shaar Habitachon. I'm going to throw out a question. I want to get your answers. How do you feel? Okay, here's the question, okay? Use your chat box to share with all of us today what you feel. How many of you feel that your interactions with family, friends, and colleagues, how do you feel that interaction is as far as you being kind to them? Do you ever feel, and maybe I'm not talking about you, but maybe do we ever feel that when we deal with people, we always have an ulterior motive? Like, if I give them money, then they'll have to thank me, and maybe publicly. If I do them a favor, they'll owe me one. If I'm nice to parents or children, they'll always have to do for me as well. I'm sorry if it's frozen, guys, something with the internet here, but if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up. I'll know at least that you hear me, even if you don't see me. But if you hear me, give me that thumbs up. If you don't hear me, give me like a scowling face or put it down in the messages. You hear me. Okay, good. Okay. So hopefully the internet will come back as we talk. So when we do a favor for people, for colleagues, for friends, for community members, for employees, employers, even children or family, do we feel ever in the back of your mind, okay, we're going to be honest here, Do you feel that sometimes we do it because we want something back? We want something in return. So there is, in a certain way, an ulterior motive. So some children are very kind to their parents because they know that one day they'll be put in the parents' will. Okay? The kid that calls the most, or the kid, oh, Arlene will get to that. The kid that calls the most, or the kid that's always there, or the kid that showers praises, they know their parents because they know their parents. The parents want doting children. The parents want someone who's present. And they always say, oh, this one's going to go in my will. So in the back of the mind, do we do it because we want something back? Okay. Or about a neighbor. Do we do something because we know that one day they'll give us back? Do we do something for the community because we know the community will thank me and I'll be recognized? Do we do something even sort of in an, unpopular space, but deep down we think maybe someone will find out and we will be recognized? And you are all writing very, very deep and true things, because Rabbeinu Bachaya says that it's human nature to do things because some way we hope to get back. So Rabbeinu Bachaya was psychologically in tune with the human condition. So, okay, so Arlene, you say you do it because you like to be appreciated. So then there is an ulterior motive, right? In a way, Arlene, you're being very honest. We do it because we want to be appreciated. We buy things for our children for birthday presents, our grandchildren. We know that they'll appreciate it, they'll thank us. And then there's a need to be appreciated. It's a human nature to want, right? People struggle for purpose, for self-worth, for self-esteem. It's the human condition, right? The whole theory of codependence, written by Pia Melody, if you've ever read her book, it's all about needing people, their approval, their time, their kindness, their reciprocity, just their desire to give back. It's the human condition, right? So people like Pia Melody, or people who speak about the codependence, might be Sue Johnson or whoever, Goldie, right? These are people who studied, the popular therapists today, but from the past as well. They talk about the desire to be needed and to be acknowledged, appreciated. So do we do things for others because we want that? And if we do, it doesn't matter, because the point is, we spoke about so many times in Tanya, Hamaisa Hua Iker, that it's the deed that counts. It doesn't matter what ulterior motive is, right? As long as you do the mitzvah, right? If a poor man knocks at your door and you say to himself, I'm not in the mood of doing this, the poor man doesn't care. Just give the poor man a piece of bread, right? If your heart is into it, kol hakavod, beautiful. But if you're doing it because it has to be done, that's most important. In Judaism, it's what's most important is the deed. But Rabbeinu Bachaya is trying to take us to a space where we are very in line and very in tune with doing for others just because God said. And I'm going to read from you from Shaar Habitachon. And beautiful, Arlene, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mitzvah. So, Rabbeinu Bachaya, we are on page 154 for those of you who have the book. He says like this: if the person trusting God has a wife, family members, friends, and enemies, then he should rely on God to save him from the burden usually associated with being involved with them, and he should make efforts to meet his obligations toward them and to take care of their wants, to do so wholeheartedly. He should avoid doing anything that will cause them harm. Instead, he should engage in the means that will bring them good, and he should be loyal to them regarding all their matters. So, what Rabbeinu Bachaya Chaya is telling us here is we have to take care of family, friends, and even enemies because God said, just be loyal regarding all their matters. But enemies, really? God is expecting us to do enemies? Anybody remember in the first book of the Torah, Chumash, Chumash Bereshis, there's a scenario of one of the great people of our history that repays his enemies who did terrible things to him, really, really, really terrible things, that he repays them and says, whatever you did for me was because God wanted it, or the negative. So I'm repaying you because I'm doing you good. Whatever bad you did to me was not because you did it, it was meant to be. And he repays his enemies out of the goodness of his heart because God said, I have to be good to you. So what you did to me bad, that was God's thing. And God said, I have to be good. You think you're my enemy? You're not. There's no reason for me to consider you my enemy. Why? Because whatever bad happened to me, it was meant to be. Now, just on a side note, Rabbeinu Bechaya says very interestingly, and listen to this so carefully, and you could give me a thumbs up if you ever heard this before or you're wowed by it. When Hashem wants someone to do good for somebody else, let's say you deserve to be given a beautiful Shabbat meal. God will choose good people to do that for you. And if something negative is supposed to happen to us, God will find a not good person to do that to us. Because only good things will come through good people, people who have others' best interest in heart, others that sacrifice, like Nikki's saying, she sacrificed a lot, and she has to learn to forgive, but not forget her enemies, because she sees them on a daily basis. I know what you're saying, Nikki, and I know. When bad happens to us, Hashem chooses bad people to do them. And when good happens to us, Hashem, that's why, by the way, when someone dies or something bad happens, and you pick up the phone and you say, oh, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, so-and-so just died, maybe you should be the one to pick up the phone. Don't be the bearer of bad news. Let them find out from someone else. Unless you have to say the bad news because it's someone, God forbid, that's close to you. You don't have a choice. You have to tell the people. But if it's just someone that you know or a community person, and it's not going to affect you or the other person because you don't have to do the Shiva, Baruch Hashem, don't be the one to spread bad news. Have you ever heard that before? I find that fascinating because there are a lot of people that bad news travels fast. Oh, did you hear so-and-so? They just got divorced. I don't want to say bad news, but I just want to let you know in case you need to know. Now, let someone else be the one. And if no one else does it, you'll hear it when you're supposed to hear it. They'll hear it when they're supposed to hear it. Don't be the one to share bad news because Rabbeinu Bechaya says that bad news is shared by people that absolutely aren't always good. I think that is fascinating. I want to know if you feel the same way. So I know I'm ruffling some feathers here because I know we're all, in a way, guilty of this. Who hasn't picked up the phone and said, could you believe who just lost their job? Or could you believe who just died? Or could you believe someone who just got shingles? Or could you believe? We don't have to be the one. Unless you're calling because so-and-so is sitting Shiva, let's put together a meal train. So-and-so is not well. Yes, so-and-so is not well. Let's put together a meal. But just to pick up the phone and say so-and-so is not well, no, you should be the one to share that news. Unless the phone call is about how we can help them. How's that? I heard this and when I read this, I was pretty much blown away. And that's why I love what happens if the other person already knows, then what are you saying it for? If you want to speak about it because you want to help, you want to say, I heard so and so lost a brother. Do you have their phone number so I can call them? Do you know what time they're sitting shiva? Do you know their address? Could we do a meal trade? Would you like to make Shabbos for them? Just to call, like Rosen says, bad news is like, I feel that this is so powerful. And it's going to stop a lot of people from talking about things because people go sit down at a restaurant and they talk about things. They go for tea, they talk about people. It's got to stop. It's got to stop because if you, the one that's spreading the bad news, Rabbeinu Bachaya says here, it's because you're not such a person. But if you're spreading good news, if you're the one that's sharing a mazel tov, and you're the one that's sharing about someone collecting money for a poor bride, you're not just saying, "Oh, I can't believe so and so. How are they making money? They don't have. They lost their parents." Who needs to hear that? Ah, but if you're saying we're setting up a fund for this family, we're trying to raise $10,000, or we're putting together the Shabbos kala, and we want to know what you can bake, then fine. That's a beautiful thing. That's what community is. But community is not about just sharing. Hey, did you hear? Did you hear who just lost the job? Oh, shame. By the way, the word shame, that's a terrible word. It's got to be thrown out of vocabulary. What shame is about? If you're going to do a positive action, then that's good. And that's what he's saying over here. How to deal with families and friends. We deal with families and friends and enemies just with positivity, kindness, goodwill, good, positive energy. And the story in Chumash Bereshit that I was talking about, the story of Joseph, he had every reason to despise and hate his brothers. They sold him. First, they threw him in a pit. Then they sold him. Then he became a slave to his master, Potiphar. Then he was thrown into prison. Boy, when he saw his brothers, did he have any reason to be kind to them? No reason at all. And yet, Rabbeinu Bachaya says that what did he do? He says, although the good is not evident in all situations, it is nevertheless a plan that comes from God, who only does good. Therefore, every offender should be retreated with listen to this, should be treated and repaid with good indeed. The commandment to avoid causing harm and promoting good is to a friend and foe alike. And this I'm quoting from Sefer Maimorim, Melukot. This is from the Rebbe's Lekutei Sichos. How powerful and earth-shattering is that? Because the story of Joseph and his brothers, the good and the beneficial path of God is apparent. The sale of Joseph, which eventually brought what? It brought the Jews down to Egypt so that they wouldn't die of hunger. It was the beginning of the Egyptian exile, but eventually this led to the receiving of the Torah, which was intended to alleviate the hardships of the Israelites, which eventually made us a nation, which eventually took us to Israel. So the whole path of Joseph being thrown into a pit, eventually being sold to Egypt, then being put into the prison, eventually becoming the viceroy, which brought the Jewish nation into Egypt, and they lived there with joy and prosperity, eventually led them into slavery, which eventually took them out and led them to Mount Sinai, which they received the Torah from God, which eventually made them a nation. Although they traveled through the wilderness for 40 years, they eventually made it to Israel, where we became the Jews. And we became the Jews in Har Sinai, but we became the people of Israel. So it all started with the brothers selling Joseph. Imagine. So that is why the Ben Bachai is saying that you must treat your family, wife, family members, friends, and enemies with goodness and kindness. Okay, Then he goes on and he says, why are we doing this? We know you have to, and everybody knows you have to love your friend. And we also know what is hateful unto you, don't do to others. So what is he adding on to it? So what does he say? He says, love your neighbor as yourself is the explanation and understanding of, and you should love the Lord your God. When a person loves another Jew, he loves God. Why? Because every Jew has what? Put it in the comments. Every Jew has what? Every Jew has a Tselem Elokim. Tell me what's a Tselem Elokim? It's a spark of vision of God. It's an essence of God. It's a piece of God. And because every Jew has that, we love them implicitly just because they are part of our one unifying body. We all come from Adam. That's why Adam was created as one. Right? Remember, all the animals were created in pairs, but Adam was created as one to reinforce the concept that the world was created for me. My role, what's my job? To bring godliness into the world, to embrace other people, to help other people discover that Tselem Elokim, and to be good to them, and to love them. Loving a fellow is the portal that leads to divine courtyards. So now, Rabbeinu Bachai is saying, why do we love a fellow? Now, we said before, do we love a fellow Jew because we want to get back appreciation, because we want self-worth, because we want to be honored, because we want to be, yes, Jennifer, every human being. Remember, Adam, Jennifer, is not a Jew, right? The Jews started with Abraham. Adam was the first human. Every human has a spark of God. And that is why we have to love humanity. Of course, you love your family first, which is the Jewish nation, because we have that, we come from that part of you. Jennifer, let's be honest. You love the whole community of Toronto, but you love your kids first. That's human nature. And God made it that way. That if there's, God forbid, a fire or God, anything, we jump and take care of our children first. We take care of the Jewish problems first. We take care of the Jewish people first. If you have 10% to give tzedakah, give it to a Jewish cause. And I know there are Jews that love to give to museums, and they love to give to the habitat, and they love to give to, space research. That's great. But if you know a Jewish widow who's struggling, you have to give her money first. That is Jewish law. Maybe you won't have a plaque on that Jewish woman's home, but God has a plaque for you. And we're told something very interesting, Rabbeinu Bachai says. He says this, loving a fellow Jew is the portal leads to divine courtyards, which means if you really don't do it for covered, and you don't do it for respect, you will get your respect through the divine courtyards. Hashem knows you, and he keeps a cheshbon. We say someone who runs away from respect, from kavod runs after him. Except you have the guy who says, I'm very humble. I'm not doing this for respect. He does a big thing, and then he runs and keeps looking back. Hey, why isn't kavod running after me? Hey, I'm humble. Come on, kavod run after me. We're talking about sincere humility, right? Sincere humility, you do it because God said, for no other reason, Hashem pays you back. And I want to share. So I just want to go back to saying this. We don't do kindness for others because we want to be paid back. We want others to return the favor. We want to be honored and praised. We want to have authority over them. And this happens a lot in family, by the way. I'll give you a big loan. I'll give you, $50,000 to help you with the down payment. But boy, when we have Hanukkah parties and we have a bar mitzvah, I expect you to give me some kibbud. Or there's a chuppah, I want you to honor me under the chuppah. Anybody been there, done that? Expecting kavod because you did a favor for them? Have you ever heard, maybe you didn't do, but have you ever heard that from people? Right? I know I'm going to get a blessing at the chuppah because I gave them a big chunk for their house, or I helped their kid get into a certain school. Listen, we're human, it's a human condition. We're humans. And that's why we're learning this, because we all struggle with this. We all want to lead the life that Rabbi Bachaya tells us. But that's why we learn it, because we struggle with it. Yes, Jennifer, you're right. And you probably joined a little bit late, but that's what we exactly were talking about. We were saying that people do it for the wrong reasons. But the real covered, that's not real covered. The real covered is a covered that comes from Hashem. When Hashem gives you through the most indirect ways, you're going to get the ultimate covered. Maybe the donor gets the big applause up there, but the real intrinsic covered, whether it's nuchas and nefesh, whether it's real recognition. By the way, Jennifer, we have to remember something very important. The Torah tradition is to give tzedakah, even if you're going to be recognized and you get the donors. And people shouldn't say, I don't want to be recognized, because you need to be recognized, because that helps other people give. But Rabbi Bachai is a step further than this. This is a good level. You give tzedakah, you get honored, fine, get up there, get the praise, just get it, because it's going to help others to give charity. But the next level is to give a lot behind the scenes that many don't know. And I'm going to share with you an incredible story, because what Rabbeinu Bachai is telling us here is we have to be nice to people, because it brings the Kiddush Hashem to the world. Now, I think it was last week, I shared a story about a cousin by the name of Nechama Werdiger. She's my father's cousin, and she saved his life when he was a little boy in Siberia. He's almost died because there was such hunger there in the 1940s. And this woman, she lives in Australia now. But in our family, she's like a hero. And I could tell you something right now, Jennifer, and to all of you who are on now. She saved my father with a little putter. You know what putter is? She scoured Siberia to find butter. That saved my father's life. She didn't do it for fame, fortune, recognition, honor, or pomp or ceremony. She didn't even think my father was going to survive. So she didn't think she was going to get anything. But do you know, and this, I can't believe it, because this story, exactly what Rabbi Bachai is saying. This woman, she lives in Australia, so my family doesn't see her often. But if she ever is in New York City, my family celebrates her. My father considers her the ultimate hero of his life. And that's exactly what Rabbi Bachai says. He says, when you help others, take care of others, you will actually get respect from them if you do it confidentially and without pomp and ceremony. So I'm going to show you a story about her relative. Clearly, this is a special family, the Werdigers. So this story took place about 4 or 5 years ago. This guy, Saul Werdiger, I think it's her brother-in-law, he is the owner of a very large company called Outer Stuff. And he dresses the famous and the wealthy and the movie stars and the Olympics and anyone that needs anything for the outerwear, they come to Saul Werdiger's. He's the owner of this company, Outer Stuff. Very wealthy man, gives a lot of tzedakah. But this story didn't happen with tzedakah. The story happens is that one day he gets a call from the South Korean ambassador to the United Nations. His name is Ojun. And Ojun calls him up and he says, is it okay if I take you out for lunch? He goes, sure. Any kosher restaurant on Manhattan is good for me. So they make an appointment. Mr. Ojun actually shows up a little late, about a half hour late, but they sit down and they talk. And he says to him, you know, I've always heard negative stereotypes about Jews. And I took it as face value until my daughter became an intern in your company. He goes, who's your daughter? He goes, you don't even know my daughter because she comes in without using my name. She's got a job as an intern in your company. And every day when she comes back, she'll call me up to say, Dad, you cannot imagine what these Jews are like. You cannot imagine who these people are. So he says, what's going on? What are you so impressed with? He says, well, just for the starters, at 1:30, they stop working and they go pray. On Fridays, they close for the Sabbath, and all non-Jews can go home too, even though we don't keep the Sabbath. They close work early on Friday. All Jews, non-Jews, anyone who is employed by Mr. Saul Werdiger goes home. She says, not only that, they treat everyone with such respect and dignity that every day that I come there, I cannot believe that people are like that. And that alone makes me want to repay you for all the money that my daughter made. And he starts writing out a check. And Mr. Wood goes, no, absolutely not. Your daughter worked hard. She deserves every penny. I'm not taking your check. He says, so then I have to tell you something that just happened. He says, you know, I have voting privileges at the UN. And because of my renewed appreciation of the Jewish people, today, I abstained from a resolution that was against Israel. He says, today they needed a 9th vote in order to pass a motion against Israel. Now, you and I know this happens on a regular basis. He says, but today I abstained and they were not able to pass that motion. What did he do, Saul Werdiger? What did he do? He treated everyone like a mensch, Jew, non-Jew alike. Everyone is created in B'Tselem Elokim. Being nice, being a mensch, being respectful, treating with honor and dignity, and not because we're going to get something back. To me, that is the most tremendous lesson that we could learn today about Shaar Habitachon. We don't do it to get back. We do it because God said, just treat every person with the dignity and respect they deserve. Leave the Lashon Hara out. Don't be the one to spread bad news. Don't be the one to bear all the bad news. Don't be the one that everyone comes to and says, did you hear who died? Did you hear who got divorced? Did you hear who broke the engagement? Did you hear who lost the job? Don't be that one. Don't be that one. Because, as I said, who's the one that spreads this news? Hashem chooses not the good people to spread that news. So let's be connected to Hashem, connected to our Yiddishkeit, connected to our Torah. Let's be the nice guy. Let's be the one that shares the goodness of Judaism, the Kedusha of Judaism, and makes a Kiddush Hashem. Have a great week.